What's up, guys? I'm another Metal Home, 150 class garments by the end of the year. I'm also doing Patreon requests, and thankfully, some people have requested Bruce Springsteen over on my Patreon. I was worried that it was going to be the last one I did was, what was the, not Born in the USA, what was the one before that? The River. I did The River, and I thought that was going to be the last one because I didn't get requests for Bruce Springsteen for quite some time, but Garth and Kenny thankfully requested some albums, and Tunnel of Love is the Bruce Springsteen album that I'm going to be honest is probably the one that's been the most requested in the comments. I thought coming into Bruce Springsteen, I Born in the USA because that is the one that has all of his biggest hits on it. I feel like the ones that like people outside Bruce Springsteen fandom know about. So I thought when I started with that about a year ago, that that would have been like his biggest album or most requested album. Then I got comments saying that actually this is one that a lot of Bruce Springsteen fans don't come back to as much because they like Darkness on the Edge of Town, Born to Run, and Nebraska and Tunnel of Love. But the most out of all of those is Tunnel of Love. And it's taken a long time until I've gotten to this point. But I found that quite interesting. When I look at like the streaming numbers, they're not anywhere near as big as the other albums. When I look at like the music rating website that I use, Tunnel of Love is one that doesn't have that many ratings. Like the other albums have like 3 to 6,000 ratings from the people on there. This is 500. So, but in my comment section, it's the one that's mentioned the most by a long shot. So I'm quite curious to delve into it. A lot of people said that this is like the Bruce Springsteen fans' favorite pick as well. Like this is the one that he plays more songs from this album, or the ones that are played on this album are the ones that hit the hardest. They're the ones that people have like the biggest connection and memories to. So I'm very curious to delve into that. I'm assuming with the name of Tunnel of Love, it's going to delve into like his love life, romance, that sort of thing. And coming off of the back of Born in the USA, which is I think was the last album that came out before this, which was this massive triumphant like push into stardom in a way, where he already had stardom, but it's like the big breakout thing. This feels like it might have like a Nebraska tinge to it, where it goes down, retreats into introspective stuff. So I'm curious to delve into that. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
I got the fortunes of heaven, diamonds and gold. I got all the bonds, baby, that the bank could hold. Well, I got houses across the country, honey, hand to hand, and everybody but he wants to be my friend. Well, I got all the riches, baby, any man ever knew, but the only thing I ain't got, honey, I ain't got you. I got a house full of Rembrandt and priceless art, and all the little girls that wanna tear me apart. When I walk down the street, people stop and stare. Well, you think I might be thrilled, but baby, I don't care, 'cause I got more good luck, honey, than old King Peru. But the only thing I ain't got, baby, I ain't got you.
I really like the start of this. Like the it comes off as a brag, but like on the surface level of it, like, oh look, I have all of these things. But the way that he frames it of like, oh, all of this sort of stuff doesn't necessarily matter. I don't care about it. Sort of like Johnny Cash Hurt in a way, which is one of the formative tracks that I listened to growing up. That I would say if there was one song by itself that is like dictated how I move within life the most, it's Hurt by Johnny Cash. It's not necessarily like the meaning of that track, I don't think, or like the intended meaning, but what I took from it when I was like 12 or 13 is the concept of him looking back at his illustrious career and just the words of like pile of dirt, that sort of thing, the level of regret and like despair that doing everything you could possibly think of when it comes to looking back at your material wealth, your accolades, all of that sort of thing, and being disappointed or regretting that life is something that was like so profound in me that like just I was so fucking scared of that. And it made me think about like it was something I always came back to. It was like, what's something that I've always like, what's the thing that matters the most to me? And it is love, it is romance, it's building a life together with a partner, that sort of thing. And from that point onwards, I just went balls to the walls to try and make sure that like I'm the kindest person imaginable, that I'm trying to always like be the best. Like I came from a feminist household, trying to make sure that I'm not doing anything like skeezy or anything like that when it comes to women, being like holding myself to the most utmost respect when it came to Valentine's, doing everything I can to make big gestures and like basically be like a rom-com version of a guy. Because in my brain, if I did absolutely everything in my power in every single aspect of my life to be a like really good fucking partner, or someone that deserves love, or is easy to get along with, that sort of thing, very people pleasing, if I did all of that and then at the end of my life I didn't have like the life I would have hoped for, I could at least look back and not have the position of Johnny Cash where there might be regrets, but look at like, oh, that's how life should have turned out for me, I guess. Not to dump heavy, but that sort of perspective of like hurt feels like what this track is kind of touching upon as well. Like, I have all of these accolades, I have all these things, but instead of getting having this like perception or message at the end of life, he has it in the middle of his life, which I think at this point is maybe about 30, 40, I'm assuming, maybe mid 40s, and he's having this thing of like, I don't care about any of these accolades, I want love, I want to be able to build life that way. And that is definitely a concept that I feel rings very true to how I view the world, so it'd be cool.
I got a big diamond watch sitting on my wrist. I try to tempt you, baby, but you just resist. I made a deal with the devil, babe. I won't deny it until I got you in my arms. I can't be satisfied. I got a pound of caviar sitting home on ice. I got a fancy foreign car rides like paradise. I got a
I love his voice here. I love the tone that he has, like, that he's taking this. There's a bit of like a frustration. Like they... I don't know because I haven't watched like Bruce Springsteen interviews or anything like that, but just coming from like the art, like the stuff that I get from his music, the way that like Nebraska talks about like the mansion on the hill, that sort of thing, the way he's interacting here, where he's like, I have all this stuff, and I kind of sense like a bit of bitterness that he has all of these things for like, oh, being paid a king's ransom for doing what comes naturally, is maybe I'm connecting these two dots and it's not like explicit, but like his emotional, it feels like there's an emotional turmoil of like, he's now in that position of like being on that mansion on a hill, and he has a distaste that he's in that position, and there's a frustration there because he's like, this isn't what I care about, or anything like that. It's like, I want love, I want romance, I want that sort of thing. But then also, I don't know, yeah, it just kind of feels like it melds within his perception of like that despair working class player of looking up at the mansion on the hill, being like, there's just such a dichotomy between the world, and now he's in that position, he kind of loathes it a bit. That's kind of the perception I'm getting. Or loathes that he's in that position because he also understands that it's like sort of unfair. I know this is like a absolute crowd favorite, I think. It sounds quite pretty. I don't know if the E Street Band's still a part of this. I'll check.
Well, it's Saturday night. You're all dressed up in blue. I've been watching you for a while. Maybe you've been watching me too. So somebody ran out, left somebody's heart in a mess. Well, if you're looking for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest.
That line hits very hard. It was actually one of the things that I had to delve with. I think I've touched on similarly in The River maybe, but it's something I had to delve upon when I was like going through therapy and shit like that when I was like 21, which feels like the formative part of like when I went to therapy and got grounded, because I've been to therapy and I was able to handle all of my shit growing up in adolescence. I was in there quite often, but it felt like there was like a proper hit rock bottom sort of mode in 21, and I got out of that. And a lot of that is like, honey, I'm tougher than the rest, was kind of like the veneer that I had throughout my life, which I like talking about, like I wanted to be the best partner, that sort of thing. to anyone, which by the way is funny when you think of it in the context of a 14-year-old, but that's how I was. And the tougher than the rest is something I always had, where it's like, if I was like mistreated or someone was like hurting my feelings or whatever, that it's like downplaying that, because if I downplayed that and there was like less conflict involved when it comes to that, in my mind it would be like they would view me as like easier, something that is like more joyous, like a person that's more joyous to be around, that sort of thing. And it's something that when I was like 21 I realized is not necessarily true. Like you not like, you don't actually have to be tougher than the rest. Like I was trying to be as tougher than every other guy. It's like, oh, if a guy would normally get mad at like a comment that this person made or something like that, I'm not going to get mad at that. I'm going to be above that, so I can like be more appealing, and be like a better dating prospect and that sort of thing. And that is not the healthier way to deal with that, which is interesting. Because when now I'm in a relationship of like 3 years, it's like one of the important foundations there is actually just like communicating through conflict in a healthy manner, instead of just trying to avoid it as much or trying to downplay it to look better, if that makes sense.
Some girls they want a handsome dame, or some good looking Joe. On their arms, some girls like a sweet talking Romeo.
I'm sorry to keep pushing, but like that's actually something, like all three of those is like, well, I was trying to be at all at the same time. So like handsome or whatever, I was got an eating disorder hardcore, and then like did soccer a shit ton and tried to like get fit that way, try as well as like looking good. And then like sweet talking, I was trying to be as sweet as possible, trying to be as charming as possible, and like working on that to, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, around here, baby, I learned you get what you can get. So if you're up enough for love, honey, I'm tougher than.
Right, yeah. I definitely, yeah. I love this sentiment. Very true.
And it's a thin, thin line. But I want you to know I'll walk it for you anytime. Maybe your other boyfriend
Yep.
couldn't pass the test.
Yeah.
But if you're up and ready for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest.
I love it. It also sounds immaculate.
Well, it ain't no secret. I've been around a time or two.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't know, babe. Maybe you've been around too. Well, there's another dance. All you gotta do is say yeah. And if you're up and ready for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest.
I love it. I love this track because it rings so true. Granted, obviously the way that he's doing this could be in a lot healthier mechanism than what I was doing when I was a bit younger. Because he's like 40 at this point, so I'm going to assume it's coming from a much healthier place than what I was doing it. But like the whole idea, like I always had that sort of perspective. Like I never had like the nice guy of like trying to, I don't know, like debate a person into dating me or anything like that. But like I always had like the perception of like, if you give me a chance, I know that because this is the thing I care about the most, like love and doing it, like all this sort of stuff. If you give me a chance, I know I can make you have fucking nice memories and all that sort of shit. Like an example of it is like my current partner. I'm in a much healthier place, so I don't do this. Like this comes from a different like different perspective, so it's not as unhealthy or like potentially love bombing and shit like that. But I make like $300 a week, being a student, and for my partner's last birthday, like I saved up like $1,100. I don't know, I saved up $1,400 or something like that for a gift, and that sort of thing. Like the level that level of self-sacrifice, where like just that level of sacrifice, like other people just wouldn't do as much. Or from my perspective, I didn't see as many people doing that sort of thing. Like, I don't know if it's like a bigger thing when it comes to in like America or something like that, but like in Australia, like Valentine's gifts, 90% of boyfriends don't do them. Like when I was going through high school or when I was in university and shit like that, like the guys just wouldn't do Valentine's. They'd forget them. They'd just forget to give a birthday gift or like a Valentine's gift and shit like that. So me doing this like fucking rom-com level gestures and shit like that was the enticing sort of experience thing that I was like hoping to give people, because I'm like, oh, I know all you gotta do is like say yes and I'll give me the opportunity, and then I'll try and knock off your socks and stuff like that.
Baby, you're rough enough for love. Baby, I'm tougher than the rest.
I love this song though. Like, it sounds fucking great. It deserves more love and like music nerddom. If you haven't watched one of my videos before, I do ratings on the side. These are my first listen ratings. I listen to these projects multiple times over before I post them to my Discord, where you can chat to me about my ratings. I'm always active in there. I also post the Album of the Year, which is a music rating website that I mentioned before. Before this channel, I listened to about maybe 10 tracks from across my entire life. And that was Linkin Park, Bring the Horizon, Beartooth, all of these metal sort of bands from like around like 2000s, 2010s. And I hadn't heard any classes before, so I hadn't heard like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, like anything like that. And I started the channel to delve into that sort of stuff, and it came to me with Bruce Springsteen. I listened to Born in the USA on a whim basically a year ago, which is roughly around when I started doing this. And yeah, I got so much love and support. I absolutely love and adore you guys, so thank you so much for that, especially because I absolutely love Bruce Springsteen. But yeah, over the course of the past year and a half or so, I have listened to about 1,400 albums, and my average rating is a 6 out of 10. I solely think that's because of my Patreon, because over on my Patreon is $5 a month, all the way up to $13 a month, where you get to request an album. Every single tier has the ability to request an album, just depending on the length. But because I have 200 subs over on Patreon, all of them have the ability to request an album, and they're going to request Tunnel of Love. They're not going to request the worst Bruce Springsteen album or anything like that. So yeah, that's why it skews a bit higher on average, because spiritually I think I have a 5 out of 10. Because if I think something's a 5.1, I think it's above average, but it skews higher because the only thing I can listen to are Patreon requests, which I'm not complaining. They're all good albums. But yeah, I would say with all of that, I just think this is a 10. Like, I absolutely adore this track. The lyrical perspective, even if I take it a bit differently than how it's intended, Bruce Springsteen sounds immaculate on it, and the production is really fucking beautiful. Damn, this sounds like it's gonna be fucking nice the entire way through.
I got $1 in my pocket. There ain't a cloud up above. I got a picture in a locket, and that says, baby, I love you. Well, if you didn't look then, boy, then fellas don't go looking now. Well, if she comes walking, hell, that heaven will allow. Say, hey there, Mr. Bouncer, now all I wanna do is dance. But I swear I left my wallet
That's just kind of cutie.
back home in my working pants. Come on, swim, slip me in, man. I'll make it up to you somehow. I can't be late, I got a date with all that heaven will allow.
I love how he's writing about love.
Storm and dark skies, well, they don't mean a thing if you got a
I love it.
Yeah, all the time. Know that it
It's such a short, like, concise and track, but like, it's such a beautifully well-made track. I'm also the depiction of like the imagery that I'm sort of like given of like a young Bruce Springsteen, like having this like, I don't know, it's like it's so youthful and joyous, the level of him like trying to get into the bar, like the club, past the bouncer and being like, hey, this is like kind of like envisioning himself in his own sort of love story sort of thing, right? And this girl could be, I don't know, any rom-com sort of movie you think of as like this girl that like, oh, you need to just at the nick of time, under all of these circumstances, you have to like get your way through to meet her because she's going to be perfect and she's heaven. It paints a really like beautiful imagery, and there's also like a, I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that I've listened. The last Bruce Springsteen album I listened to was one that was also requested, but I think Kenny requested it, and it was Wrecking Ball. And it's the more recent 2012 album. It was apparently the best, Bruce Springsteen's best in like the last 20 years or so, and that one, the fact that he is friends with Obama kind of came through, because like a lot of that music sounded of that time, very optimistic, that sort of thing, a lot of hope in the air in that sort of way. Before, and it might also be the fact that I've just recently listened to a lot more of Chicago rappers and stuff like that, but it makes like, I could even picture like a young Obama, if you've seen him in college and that sort of thing, doing the same sort of thing. There's like this, I know, cultural sort of thing that I depict. I don't know if New Jersey is actually that similar to Chicago or whatever, but it might just be more East Coast, because in my brain, Chicago is, despite being, I think, Midwest, is more East Coast-ish to me. That there's like a depiction of like the same sort of like cultural or like demeanor there. I don't know if there is any actual crossover between New Jersey or Chicago or whatever, but for whatever reason, the cultural underpinnings of Chicago feels very similar to like the vibes that Bruce Springsteen's giving off here, which is from New Jersey. Oh, I'll give this, I think this song's amazing. I'll give it a 9. I like that. Ooh.
Bobby said he'd pull out, Bobby stayed in. Jenny had a baby, wasn't any cent. They were set to marry on a summer day. Bobby got scared and he ran away. Jane moved in with a mom out of Shawnee Lake. She said, Mom, sometimes my whole life feels like one big mistake. She settled in a back room, time passed on. Later that winter, the sun come along. Said, Paul.
Ooh, I like that guitar a lot. Ooh. Ooh. There's a feisty nature of her. I kind of like that. I'm loving this like sort of like hopeless romantic aspect of Bruce Springsteen. But it's interesting, this way this sounds, the feisty nature and everything underneath it, kind of feels like he's imparting a lot in this track a bit more of his, I wouldn't say, you could class it as cynicism, but I feel like a bit more like what, like working realism, you know, into it. Like there's a, it's not all fairy tale, where he was playing on that a bit in the past 2 tracks, putting himself as like the center of a rom-com. But on this one, there's like, ooh, no, when we're observing other people, like people can go through plights that are like pretty far, a bit gritty, like, and I think the music kind of symbolizes that as well.
Now Janie walked that baby across the floor night after night, but she was a young girl and she missed the party lights. Meanwhile, in South Texas, in a dirty oil patch, Bobby heard that a son being born, swore he wasn't ever going back. Slap hearts and broken hearts. Keep the world turning around.
He is just a captivating songwriter. Like, I'm just engrossed in the story every time. Also, this guitar playing is insane. Oh, this is like so different and so bold, like guitar playing, compared to its usual, like so rough and tumble. If I'm being honest, like I feel like that's another amazing track. Like the guitar playing, how engrossing his storytelling is, incredible.
Bill Orton was a cautious man of the road. He walked looking
This is
over his shoulder.
This is so interesting. I'm sorry, I'll should go back to the start. This sounds very much like Nebraska to me, so I'm keeping my ears peeled up.
Bill Orton was a cautious man of the road. He walked looking over his shoulder and remained faithful to its code. When something caught his eye, he'd measure his need, and then very carefully he'd proceed. Billy met a young girl in the early days of May. It was there in her arms he let his cautiousness slip away. In their lovers' twilight, as the evening sky grew dim, he'd lay back in her arms and laugh at what had happened to him. On his right hand, Billy tattooed the word love, and on his left hand was the word fear. And in which hand he held his fate was never clear.
He has such a beautiful way of describing these sort, like, I don't know, just it's simple but such effective lyricism. Like, it's not like he's using overcomplicated like vocab or anything like that, but it's just the way he's able to get like the way he's able to storytell is just so vivid.
Coming in summer, he took his young lover for his bride. With his own hands, built her a great house down by the riverside.
I love it. I love this sound. I don't know where it is, but like the way this sound here that's building up here is nice.
Now
It's very
Billy
80s.
was an honest man. He wanted to do what was right. He worked hard to fill their lives with happy days and loving nights. Alone on his knees in the darkness, for steadiness he'd pray. For he knew in a restless heart the seed of betrayal lay. One night Billy woke from a terrible dream, calling his wife's name. She lay breathing beside him in a peaceful sleep, 1,000 miles away. He got dressed in the moonlight and down to the highway he strode. But when he got there, he didn't find nothing but road. till he felt a coldness rise up inside him that he couldn't name. Just as the words tattooed across his knuckles, he knew it always remained. At their bedside, he brushed the hair from his wife's face. The moon shone on her skin so white, filling their room in the beauty of God's falling light.
Maybe I'm trying to I don't know, maybe I'm trying to overanalyze, and Bruce Springsteen is just like very unique. I'm trying to find a pattern that isn't there, but yeah, Bruce is just so unique or something. But like when it feels like this sort of songwriting has kind of gotten hijacked. But like Bruce was super commercial, but got hijacked by commercialization, and then I would say pretentious hipsters, because the only time you ever hear of tracks like this that are indie, folky, it's not as indie, this one, but it's folky and that sort of thing, is usually by the most pretentious people that are trying to, and because of that, it doesn't have the same sort of tone as something like this, which is just very straightforward, talking about this story, and there's the emotional side that it doesn't it feels so much more grounded than a lot of I appreciate a lot of the indie stuff of the actual 2000s and stuff like that, but there's a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They're not, because of, I don't know, maybe the places in the world, they don't shed it as much. But Bruce Springsteen sheds all of that because he comes from, my understanding is actually, I don't even have to say my understanding. I'm almost certain he comes from a working class actual background, and with all the way he talks about his father and all of that, trials and tribulations, all that sort of stuff. He comes from that sort of perspective, so he does it he has less to lose when it comes to how to be perceived, whatever. So he bears his soul a bit more, and it feels like a lot of that seems to be lost in a way. This feels like the way he makes this music is the only avenue in which he can fully express himself and shed everything, right? And this is just where the music led him. Where if another modern artist wants to do a personal track, they actually might talk about a lot of real stuff. But it feels like they think about style first, right? They'll go, oh, I need to make a track like Bruce Springsteen. I need to make it sound like this. And they'll think about the aesthetics of it to try and convey that point, instead of just bearing your heart, and this is the avenue of your, where the music takes you, sort of thing. And even if that other person, the more modern artist, takes it in a more authentic, it's still authentic to them, because they're still writing and they're still singing through their pain and stuff like that, it feels a lot less bare, because Bruce Springsteen here, as much as he probably definitely thought about how it sounded and stuff like that, the perception as a listener is that this feels like just where the music took him. Where on more recent ones, because of commercialization and making sure that you need to make it as an artist and stuff like that, with streaming and all of that, to me it feels like they focus a lot more on the aesthetics, and it cheapens the emotional underpinnings of the tracks, because it's a very simple song, and he's done it a lot, this sort of Nebraska style stuff, but it hits every single time because his heart's still there. It's just really good. Again, another 10.
I remember how rough your hand felt on my
This sounds immaculate.
and the tears cried on my shoulder. I couldn't turn away. Well, so much has happened to me that I don't understand. All I can think of is being 5 years old, following behind you at the beach, tracing your footprints in the sand, trying to walk like a man.
I like how he examines being a man in his tracks, and he comes at it from such a mature perspective. He doesn't get into the same foibles of materialism and shit like that, and being tough and shit. Healthy.
Whenever she heard those old wedding bells, well, would they ever look so happy again? Yeah, handsome groom and his bride, as they stepped into that long black limousine.
That's so interesting. Like, it, the way his simple lyrics evokes so much more, and I don't even know how. Like, as they stepped into the long black limousine for their mystery ride, for whatever reason, in my brain, I also, like, feel like that line has, like, a double entendre of, like, their mystery ride of, like, what does life, where will that take them? It might be overanalyzation, but, like, when I listen to Bruce Springsteen, there's a lot, it invokes a lot grander of a story and a lot more meaning when he's writing stuff like this. If someone said also the same line, it just feels like it wouldn't take me to the same emotional and, like, mental places and narrative places that Bruce Springsteen does. I don't know what that magic is, but he just has it.
Well, tonight you'll step away from me, and alone at the altar I stand, as I watch my bride coming down the aisle. I pray for the strength to walk like a man.
I love this song. This might be my favorite on the album. Whew, this is such a good album.
Well, now the years have gone and I've grown here from that seed you sown.
Might be one of my favorite tracks. He's my...
So many steps I'd have to learn on my own. Well, I was young and I didn't know what to do when I saw your best.
It's one of his best sounding tracks. Like, it just sounds so pretty and lush and large, but it's so intimate at the same time.
I'll walk like a man.
What a wonderful song.
And I'll keep on walking.
Yeah, this is just a 10 as well. What an amazing track. I'm curious about this one. Tile track, let's see how it goes. Ooh. Ooh. That sounds real pretty. This sounds like this sounds exactly what I think like the 80s sounds like. This I don't even know. Like, I don't know if it's synths or whatever it is. Whatever they're using to make this sound. This is what I depict the 80s as. It's like that Take On Me, Hey Ya sort of shit. And it sounds so fun. Like, it just sounds so well produced and polished here as well. Like, it sounds really gorgeous.
That man sitting on a little stool takes the money from my hand while his eyes take a walk.
I already know this is an underrated album.
Hands me 2 tickets, smiles and whispers good luck. Well,
Am I? It's on the run to maybe be higher than Born to Run to me.
ride down, baby, into this tunnel of love. Well, I can feel a soft silk of your blouse and through them soft thrills in our little fun house. And the lights go out and it's just the 3 of us. Yeah, you, me, and all that stuff we're so scared of. Gotta ride down, baby, into this tunnel of love.
He's such a detailed, varied person. I'll touch on this in a sec. This sounds so fucking good, by the way. But, like, I can now see, like, he's such a detailed, varied person because usually the way I think of artists is when I delve into their discography, I find like the one like when I find the album that fans love, it's like, oh, I can see why. And when I look at like compared to like the albums that like the critics have loved, if we go to Deftones, which is an artist I'm absolutely adoring, I would say like the two artists that are like front running for my favorite artists that I've found on this journey is Deftones, Bruce Springsteen. With Deftones, everyone goes to White Pony, but if I'm being honest, it sounds like one of the least like Deftones albums. It just sounds like the most pristine. Well, like if we go to like it's the most like critically acclaimed. It's like everything is so condensed and it's like polished and everything like that. But it doesn't ooze with the feeling of Deftones to me. It just, oh, this is them if you brought in a curator to make it the best album possible, irrespective of like their heart and soul as much. Even though that album I think is absolutely amazing. Where my favorite, like I think the two Deftones albums, like if you want to pick them, is Around the Fur. Granted, that is a bit more of their like it's laced in the nu metal sound a bit more, so there is a bit of an overlap with like Korn and stuff like that. So that there's less of a unique identifier, but I still feel like their take on it is very uniquely them. And then the most Deftones album there's ever Deftones ever. I haven't listened to Koi though. But the most Deftones album ever is Saturday Night Wrist. It feels like they have like the heart of Deftones, whatever that unique feeling is, and that is the entire album expanded as much as possible. If you could distill Deftones down to a single track, note, whatever, it is Saturday Night Wrist laces it throughout the entire album. And when I look at Bruce Springsteen, the one that every single critic hails as the best album, no matter what, is Born to Run. And I still think Bruce Springsteen has so much of his flair in that. But it reminds me also of like Elton John and stuff like that. Think about like the piano rock. It sounds like the 70s. It doesn't sound as much like it has Bruce Springsteen in it, but there are still sounds of, oh, that sounds like the 70s. This has like a bit of the 80s sound, I will admit, but for like the critically acclaimed 70s sound he has in Born to Run, and he has himself. And that's, I think, part of the reason why the critics love it, because it's just the sound of that time done to perfection with a bit of Bruce Springsteen involved. And then if we go to like the albums that I feel like embody Bruce Springsteen the most, is like Nebraska, Darkness of Edge of Town, and Tunnel of Love. I feel like these are like the Saturday Night Wrists, where Tunnel of Love here, this feels so Bruce Springsteen. It feels like it sheds any sort of that like, I don't know, like industry critic sort of perspective where it has to sound like, I don't know, their idea of like perfect, right? This is just Bruce Springsteen. Like I feel like if you're a fan of Bruce Springsteen, this is Bruce. The same way that Nebraska is Bruce. The same way that I think a decent amount of Darkness on the Edge of Town is just Bruce. Like whatever, I can't quantify what it is, but whatever feeling or sound makes you think of Bruce Springsteen, this album feels like it packages that and distills it down and spreads it around as much as possible. Yeah, I can like, and I feel like, as I said with like Deftones stuff, it's like when I go through these discographies, it's like I can see why this is like the one that's always requested by fans, because like this one, if you're a fan of Bruce, this feels like the most Brucey album ever. And I love Bruce, so I love this album. And what I was going to say, sorry for pausing in this nice solo, but with Darkness on the Edge of Town, Nebraska, Bruce Springsteen is such a varied character that those feel very Bruce, but they're so different to this. Like he has so many different facets that, because he bears himself so much, like he's so open, it feels, within his music, that you can literally have an album like this, which is completely different to Nebraska or Darkness on the Edge of Town, and it still feels like Bruce abounds. Like he has 3 albums or 2 or 3 albums that you could say is like Saturday Night Wrist, where they like Deftones distilled their sound down to, like they distilled their sound into like just what them. And Bruce has like 2 or 3 albums that sound completely different, that feels like he's doing the exact same thing. And that just showcases how like varied he is. Yeah, just to complete that thought. Mm. I love his voice. Bruce might have the most amazing album, like the highest number of amazing albums. Like, I've done so many. I haven't even done The Innocent. Which actually brings me, I have no other Bruce Springsteen albums requested at this point in time, by the way. So if you want to request the debut, like Asbury Park or Wild Innocent, I would love to do them. Yeah, and those requests would be on Patreon. But yeah, like, he has like 7 albums that are just amazing in a row, which is just crazy. And Wrecking Ball's really good, and it's from like 2012. It's quite good. There's a lot of screaming there. Scary. I would say it's just another perfect track. Maybe there's like some ways I will give it like a 9.5 or something like that. But that's for future re-listen me to figure out.
I met a girl and we ran away. I swore I'd make her happy every day. And how I made her cry. 2 faces of pie. Sometimes, mister, I feel sunny and wild. Lord, I love to see my baby smile. And dark clouds come rolling by. 2 faces of pie. One that laughs, one that cries.
I love how healthy and vulnerable he is.
One does things I don't understand. Makes me feel like half of man. At night I get down on my knees and pray. Our love will make that other man go away. But it'll never say goodbye. 2 faces of pie.
I love it.
Last night as I kissed you beneath the willow tree, he swore he'd take your love away from me. He said our life was just a lie.
Dude, it's just amazing. 80s is an underrated decade. I'll talk more at the end because I just want to feel into the emotion, but I'll try and remind myself that. I'll actually write it. 80s music. I should make me. The instruments are so nice. I don't even know what the fuck this is, but it's beautiful. I love this. Again, like, it's just another perfect track to me. This is definitely becoming, like, one of my favorites. Now, I don't know if it will be able to hit the same levels like Darkness on the Edge of Town and Born in the USA for me, because those are very, very strong albums. But, like, this is up there. Like, I would say probably at this point in time higher than Born to Run and Nebraska. And if you guys know, I love those albums. So, yeah, just absolutely incredible. But like, talking about the 80s music thing, like, I feel like 80s music is very underrated. If there's any discussions about like decades of music on like music Twitter or like any music nerd space, it's like, what's the weakest decade of music? I will flat out just say 2020s. It's not even close. But everyone has said that. Like, whatever new decade you're in, you're like, oh, this is going to be the weakest. But the mainstream artists are fumbling so fucking hard this decade. It's crazy. But underground's cool. But like, it feels like very weird with streaming services and shit. It feels like we're finally getting it. Like, 2010 was like when streaming services were getting big, and the issues started to creep up. But now in 2020s, it's like, it's so apparent. It's like everything is just so safe. Like, there is nothing that is like, there's nothing I can feel like I can become a fan of. There's good songs, but there's nothing that's like, holy shit. When I listen to Michael Jackson, it's like, holy fuck. Like, I am just a fan through my bones. When I listen to Bruce Springsteen, I'm just a fan, bro. But there's not many artists. It's like, they can make a good song, but it doesn't click to me of being a fan. And yeah, so 2020s. But outside of that, 80s music is actually always brought up, because I feel like with that decade, it's like hair metal, gothic rock is very highly appreciated, but it doesn't have the same level of like star power as like a Prince. No, Prince was 80s, I think. Most people actually, I feel like, if I'm being honest, a lot of people don't think of the 80s stars as 80s stars, like Michael Jackson, Prince, that sort of thing. That's the reason why I think 80s doesn't get the love it deserves. Or Bruce Springsteen. Like, when it comes to like if I think of like the biggest albums, the ones that people like critics love the most or whatever, it's Born to Run. So that's 70s. So in their mind, Bruce Springsteen's 70s. Elton John, I don't know if he made good 80s albums, but like Yellow Brick Road's, I think, 70s. Off the Wall is the critic pick for Michael Jackson. That's on 79. Then you have Pink Floyd, you have all of that. With 80s, they seem to, with the gothic rock, The Cure, and that stuff like that, they're not as big as a Bruce or an Elton John or something like that, or Queen. And because of that, I feel like that's probably the reason why 80s gets downtrodden. Like, if on any list, it's like, what's the worst decade of music? If there's a poll, the one that will have the highest votes is 80s. But delving a bit more into the 80s, delving into Bruce Springsteen, delving into Michael Jackson, it's like, also, if you just have Michael Jackson and Bruce Springsteen alone in your 80s doing like Born in the USA, Thriller, Tunnel of Light, you can't have the worst decade of music. That's really hard. Like, Thriller is arguably like the best album of all time, and I haven't even listened to Prince once, and he has like Purple Rain in the 80s. It's like, I feel like, anyway, the 80s gets hated on, and I feel like, I wonder why that's the case, because everyone views Bruce, Michael Jackson, Prince as like these all-time amazing artists. Even David Bowie, for example. But David Bowie's considered 70s, I think, with like Station on Station and all of that. So I don't know his 80s output, but yeah, just crazy to me, because these albums are fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. And they're steeped in the 80s sound, and that's kind of why they're fantastic too. Ooh.
I hold you in my arms. Is a band playing? What are those words whispered, baby? Just as you turn away. I saw you last night out on the edge of town. I wanna read your mind and know just what I've got in this new thing I found. So tell me what I see when I look in your eyes. Is that you, baby, or just a bridge in disguise?
I'm sorry to pause and talk about the last track, but I didn't mention it. Two Faces is a very nice one. I liked the lover, and then also I like the lover side of him, like the happy side of him, and then him having to try and grapple with and like learn to love his other side, or learn to like defeat the other side of his Two-Face, which is like the part that is like depressive and is causing crying and all that sort of stuff. It was a very like, I feel like the way he spoke about it was a very healthy way to grapple that sort of perspective. And it's also a like, usually when you think of like Two Faces as a guy, it's like you have this like happy-go-lucky guy, and then the second face is like this violent sort of person, and it feels like a flip of that, where it's like you have something that causes crying. Like I remember there's a lot of tracks that talk about like, oh, my bad side comes out and we need to defeat the bad side, and it's like a person that's like aggressive and throwing shit or whatever the fuck, and that's like the dark half. But it's interesting that the way that like Bruce's dark half is depression. It's the thing that eats away at him to make him a husk of himself, and that's the reason, that's how it hurts his partner, not in like this abusive sort of externalized way. It's the internal struggles then cause it changing the external exterior of himself that then cause those issues. And it feels like a much healthier depiction of that sort of dichotomy than what is usually presented. But yeah, I will also read the lyrics again of this one for the first bit. I kind of just like where it's going, where he's wanting to delve deeper and try and get past this like brilliant disguise and this mask of a person. I remember with the whole lover boy sort of shit that I did, there was whenever I saw like a girl that was clearly masking, like there's like a lot of girls that like are super popular, they might like lean into like being like certain characters. Like there was a girl, she was blonde, and she leaned into like this ditzy like sort of popular girl shtick thing, and for whatever reason, like I came in grade 10, and the first day I saw that and I was like, that's not her. That's just like the way she's acting here is like, it's not her. And I kind of just want to get to know like the like, I don't know, her deep down to see what's there, because there's like people that are doing that are like, there are girls that are just like the blonde popular girl that plays that part and is maybe like a bit sexual, that sort of thing, that plays that part and they're being earnest. But I could see her that she's popular, and it's like she's leaning into that, and it wasn't actually true to her thing. So it's like trying to delve deeper into that brilliant disguise, I guess. Now she's in Europe, married. Yeah, thanks for. So tell me who I see. Ooh. When I look in your eyes, I love this. Is that you, baby, or just a bridge in disguise? This is a lovely song, like an absolute. Dude, this is easily one of like Bruce's best albums. It's so interesting, like, gypsy is such a common, I'm sorry to pause it, but like such a common thing, so, like, group of people and everything spoken about in older media. Like, I will see in like 90s, 80s, that 50s, 60s, like there's, gypsy is such a massive thing. But in my generation, it's like, you have to learn about what, like, who Romani people are. Like, they don't exist, it seems. Or they're so, like, I guess, like, if in Australia or something like that, no one can look at me and go Hungarian, because like we've stripped that. Like most like as much as my as much as I'm kind of sad about that, because my grandmother is such a Hungarian person, and the family's quite Hungarian Catholic. Like within a generation, like you kind of strip that. Like my dad's nothing like that, and I'm nothing like that either. And because of that, people can't like look and go, "Oh, you're Hungarian." They're surprised when I say it because it's like you're just kind of white. Like you're an Australian white. So which by the way is just like a guy that kind of tans, which means that they're always going to have some Mediterranean. There's going to be a mixture of like Norway, fucking Sweden, English, German, Greece, Italian, Hungarian. Like you're just gonna have all of them mixed together, and it just makes white in this way. And I think maybe because of that is the reason why like I didn't know about gypsy shit. I thought gypsy was like a type of like person. I didn't know it was a culture or or an ethnicity. You know, I didn't know it was like also used as a pejorative. I didn't know that. Like all that sort of stuff. It was just like, oh, gypsy was just like in my head just astrology. Like it's whatever that is. I thought of it more like a religion, like something you subscribe to, rather than like a type of person, right? And I like an actual like ethnicity or whatever. And it's so interesting that's like learning more about that. Also learning that there's just so much hatred towards them. It seems. But and the reason I bring that up is like this. I don't think Bruce has any hatred here. I don't think. But like the way it's like the gypsy swore our future was bright, but maybe the gypsy lied. And it's just funny because like my understanding is like gypsy has a lot of Romani people. They have a lot of caricature and like shit thrown at them that is very similar to like Black Americans in America, where I think it was something like in polling suggests something like 40 or 50% of Europeans would feel uncomfortable living next to a Romani person, and due to that, the reason why is because they think that they're thieves and they're stealers and stuff like that. And I think in Italy it's something like 75% as well, which I wonder why it's so high in that one, like why they have so much animosity. But yeah, just very interesting because it's something that like is completely aloof living in Australia. Like you just have no idea. And my age as well. This song is brilliant, by the way. It's like this, Walk Like a Man, Tougher Than the Rest, probably my favorites. Cautious Man's also really good.
Tonight I bet it's cold, lost in the darkness of our love. God have mercy on the man who dies for he so loved.
Stunning. Again, another like perfect track, and I feel it's a bit insecurity shell coming up here, but I feel like showcasing such like insane ratings here makes it seem like I just give this to everything, and I just want to showcase that that's just not the case. Like the idea of like I have like 1,400 albums rated on Album of the Year, and they're 6 out of 10 average. The reason for that is because I don't rate things very highly all that time. It's just Bruce Springsteen is just so amazing. Like I'll give an example. Like if we look, this is my rating curve. That's what I was talking about at the start, I guess, with Album of the Year. It's like the reason why this is skewed towards like it's a normal bell curve, which I'm really proud of, but it's skewed towards 6 and 7. Haha. Is because I just do requests on Patreon now, and people are going to request decent to good albums, and the way that I do it is like 10 is perfect, 9's amazing, 8's great, 7's good, 6 decent, 5 okay, 4 is mid, 3 is poor, 2 bad, 1 trash, 0. No, 1's awful, 0 is trash. And because of that, because people are just going to request decent to good albums on average, that's the reason why that's in the middle. But as you can see, it's like a relatively normal bell curve. So like the idea that this will be probably in the high 9s means it's in like the 1,000 plus albums I've listened to, that this is like top, what would that be? Like top 8% or something like that. Just crazy. And then if we look at like my 10s, like these are, you might disagree with some of them because I love Deftones or whatever. And I guess like if you're less into modern day stuff or less into rap, you might disagree with the rap choices, but like there's no doubt that Thriller or Darkness on the Edge of Town or Animals are like really amazing albums. So those are my 10s as well. So like the reason I bring it up is mainly just to, if I'm being honest, an insecurity of like, all right, I'm actually giving so many 10s here, and I just want to showcase like how meaningful that is, because I don't give 10s to everything. This is just a fucking incredible album. I love Bruce Springsteen. Yeah. Oh, this sounds amazing too. Also, this might be like, apart from Thriller, like the highest rated 80s album, maybe? No. Yeah, maybe. Let's see.
Woke up this morning, the house was cold. Checked the furnace, she wasn't burning.
It's Bruce and Michael Jackson. Those are the two that's the highest.
Hit the engine, but she ain't turning. Giving each other some hard lessons lately. We ain't learning.
This sounds so immaculate. What version? Like remaster the version.
One step up and 2 steps back.
They use 2022 remaster. I guess so. It sounds really nice.
Bird on a wire outside my motel room, but he ain't singing. Girl in white outside a church in June, but the church bells ain't ringing. Sitting here in this bar tonight, but all I'm thinking is I'm the same old story, same old act.
This is such a stunning track.
2 steps back. It's the same thing night on night. Who's wrong, baby, who's right? Another fight and I slam the door on another battle in that dirty little war. When I look at myself,
He's bringing something that like working class woes into the track, which is nice. It's not all love story. Fairy tale.
There's a girl across the bar. I get the message she's sending. She ain't looking to marry me, honey, I'm pretending. Last night I dreamed I held you in my arms. The music was never ending. We danced as the evening sky faded to black. One step up and 2 steps back. Step up and 2 steps back. Step up and 2 steps back.
Look at the instrumentation is just so gorgeous. This album just feels perfect. I can't imagine a love album from Bruce that I would want any other way than the way that he's doing this. And it's even not like to the book, because it's still like, it's surprises me enough to like, I don't know, hit my emotions and like make me love it. It's not like what I exactly expected, but it's macro wise.
Not enough, so you said,
What do I
sorry,
want?
Johnny, I'm gone, gone, gone. You said my act was funny, but we both knew what was missing, honey. So you lit out on your own. Now that pretty form that you've got, baby. We'll make sure you get along, but you're gonna find out someday, honey, when you're alone, you're alone.
I like the narrative that he's sort of showcasing.
When you're alone, you're alone.
I'll let the chorus finish out.
You're alone. When you're alone, you ain't nothing but alone.
Like, it kind of, I haven't really thought about it until now, but like looking over the lyrics and stuff like that, it plays out pretty serialized, like pretty chronologically. Like, you start out tougher than the rest, like I'm that 14-year-old me sort of perspective of like, I'm gonna be the best, and then, oh, I find this woman, and then we spare parts, I don't know why I'm forgetting the stuff that, like, cautious man, walk like a man, that sort of thing. Like, your masculinity, how you were taught by the environment around you as a guy, kind of seeps in as like what you're meant to be doing. Then you go through the tunnel of love, you find this, like, you do the commitment sort of stuff. Two faces, the issues start to creep in. Oh, I need to actually like look at this other side of me that is causing these issues. Brilliant disguise. The insecurity on that two-face, that other side that's a bit more depressive, is coming through. Like, oh, do you truly love me? That sort of thing. Am I even worthy enough? Like, I'm putting you through so much stuff. Am I worthy to even have your love? And then one step up, and then to this, being like, and then when you're alone, these are like talking about like the isolations of after that. Where are you when you're all alone, when you're by yourself? Like, after this relationship kind of capitulates, where are you? And I didn't really pick up on it until like now for whatever reason. But like looking at the track list, this is a love story from start to finish, basically. And that's kind of sick. I like it. And it shows a more mature perspective. Like, when it's just vignettes of showing tougher than the rest, all that sort of thing, you could like point to, you could maybe have some critiques, but like showcasing how like the issues can arise, and like maybe where, like, sort of where the issues come from when it comes to like masculinity and who you are, and like these issues that you like you kind of cause each other, like the fact that tougher than the rest of like pushing down all of your emotions and shit like that to bear, like I guess like brag upon, like, you can take on more, you don't have to talk about this, I'll be better than any other guy, all that sort of stuff. I know from like personal experience that leads you to have issues that will make you more depressed, which is the two faces. Like, I would be down that road. I'm in a much healthier space where I don't have those sort of issues anymore, or if I do, they're very infrequent, where they were a daily occurrence before. Like the more depressive side they're talking about on two faces, but like that stems from, like, when I unpacked it all, that stems from the people pleasing, the sort of vanity, and like, I know, fantasization of like this like perfect rom-com love story sort of thing that like you bear, like these depictions that you see on TV that like we're just emulating because we're all little fucking blobs that watch media and then repeat it. Like that issue, like those things are linked. The reason why he has, like, or for me at least, it's like the reason why I had that second face there was because of how I viewed the tougher than the rest thing, where I always viewed it as like, I just need to deal with the depressive side of me and then I'm perfect. But there is always a balance. Like, you have like perfect is the enemy of the good in some ways, in that regard, where like me trying to be a good person or trying to be a good partner is a lot different than trying to be the perfect partner, and in pursuit of being a perfect partner will cause shit like the depression that happens on Two Faces, because you're living up to a standard that no one is able to meet, and you're going to destroy yourself in that process. And that's what I found, at least. So it kind of makes sense that the relationship capitulates at this, because this is probably, when I'm looking at like the rest of my life, if I stay down the same sort of path, this is sort of the place I'd probably end up, is like, I would try and be perfect, and then all of these issues start creeping in of like, what is perfect? What is it to be a man? What is it to be a perfect guy? What is it to be all this? And then trying to navigate that space by always adhering to yourself, to having this perception or like level that you have to meet and standard that is perfect, and no one can do that. And then it leads to this crash and burn, which I feel like is probably the path that I was going to go down when it comes to love and everything like that. So yeah, I feel this rings true to me on like multiple levels. Like at the start, it rang true to me on like an emotional level of like where I was, and then now we're at to the end here. This is like the reason I got healthier in the and view, like deconstruct everything and view stuff a lot differently, is because this is the path that I kind of expected. Like where and also in a weird way, like, where are you when you're all alone? It was rock bottom was when I was completely alone, where I had no one I could talk to, no matter what. No matter how big the cries for help, I had no one to talk to. And that's when you really have to sit with yourself. And that's where, like, instant, like from that point onwards, like within like a year, I was a completely different person. Because you are like, where are you when you are alone? You have to strip everything back and, I don't know, build up like where you first go, like where did everything go wrong, and then you deconstruct stuff just over time, and then you build stuff up. And weirdly enough, it's not like for me, it wasn't super conscious. It kind of just happened, like kind of just happened in a way. And now I have a completely different outlook, and to the point where like I don't have that depressive second half of my face really. Like I've been with my partner for like 3 years. I think if I have maybe had a depressive day like twice, and by depressive day I mean like depressive to the point of like a clinical depression. Like you have bad days, you have sad days, you have days where you feel a bit numb, sure, but that's normal. But like clinical depression of like any stuff related to like suicidal ideation or anything like that, that was like almost a daily occurrence for younger me. But like now it's like I haven't had that for like, I've had it like once or twice in like 3 years, and it came from this, when you shed everything back, when you're all alone, the deconstruction there and the work you have to put in to, I don't know, live a healthier life. That's where it came from for me. So it just, everything about this album rings very fucking true to me.
And I was young and pretty on the main streets of the city, and I fought to make my home. With just a shirt on my back, I left and swore I'd never look back. And man, I was gone, gone, gone. But there's things that'll knock you down you don't even see coming, and send you crawling like a baby back home. You're gonna find out that day shook. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you ain't nothing but alone.
Also, this is maybe a bit of my feminism coming in or whatever, but I don't, like, I think about it. If I was a girl, I don't know if I would have had this, like, I would have been able to hit the rock bottom. Because I would have been so, like, with the validation, like, like, trying to be the perfect partner, all that sort of thing, I kind of just hit rock bottom when it's like, oh, I'm out of girls that I can like talk to, which I would use as a distraction to try and be the perfect like person. I'm out of like literally anything, like friends, that sort of thing. And when it comes to being a girl, I feel like if I was a girl and like, let's say I was promiscuous as fuck or whatever, I could never get to a point where I would have zero human connection, because I would at least be able to like sleep with people easily, and that would be used as a vector to that I could lie to myself about that being human connection and just being stuck in that cycle. It's like, I know, for whatever reason, I don't know why this makes me think of it. I think it's more so him talking about like sugar when you're all alone, because in my head I'm like, actually, if I was a girl, like if he was talking to me and I was a girl, I don't know. I actually don't know if I would actually be able to hit rock bottom, because as a girl, I don't think when it comes to the issues that I was dealing with, you could ever hit rock bottom, because there will always be some fucking person that wants to sleep with you, and you can get you could use that as the fucking addiction, as that the drug that you derive pleasure and like all that sort of shit. You could lie to yourself through that. Because I didn't have anything, I like, once I hit rock bottom there, I didn't actually have any of that stuff to be out, like any vices that I could use. I don't know how I would, like, I feel like as a girl I wouldn't have had the opportunity to crash and burn and then build myself back up. It's like, which is not to say that like you have it easier as a girl or anything like that. It's actually in a weird way, like, because you can't, like, the rock bottom I'm talking about, I wouldn't have been able to hit it. It's like you're actually stuck in purgatory a bit more, because spiritually I wouldn't have had like this spirit, like this massive spiritual like crashing and fracturing for me to build all the pieces back together. I wouldn't have had that. Because I wouldn't have crashed. I would have like lightly, I would have been, instead of having like a marble ball that smashes and into a billion pieces, it would be like a marble ball that hits and it cracks, and then it just keeps hitting and cracking and hitting and cracking, but it never fully shatters. And I much low-key prefer to be fully shattered and then build the pieces back up than just keep having the fucking marble ball hit the ground and like crack a bit more.
Someday you're gonna look it through and you think back on me and you, and you're that ain't what's got me singing the song. It's just nobody knows, honey, where love goes. But when it goes, it's gone, gone. And when you're alone, you're
I also know that's not the like intention of this track, but
when you're alone, you're alone.
it makes sense.
When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you ain't nothing but alone. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you're alone. When you're alone, you ain't nothing but alone.
I'd say it's a, like great to amazing track, but it's not as high as like Brilliant Disguise and stuff for me. So still amazing, obviously. Valentine's Day, let's keep it up.
Driving a big lazy car, rushing up the highway in the dark. I got one hand steady on the wheel, one hand's trembling over my heart. And it's pounding, baby, like it's gonna bust right on through. And it ain't gonna stop till I'm alone again with you. A friend of mine became father last night. When we spoke in his voice, I could hear the light, the skies and the rivers, the timber wolf and the pines, and that great jukebox out on Route 39. They say he travels fastest, who travels alone. Tonight I miss my girl, mister. Tonight I miss my home. Is it the sound of the leaves left blown by the wayside? Got me out here on this spooky old highway tonight. Is it the cry of the river, the moonlight shining through? That ain't what scares me, baby. What scares me is losing you.
I like the uncertainty that this album is finishing on. It feels like every single time Bruce Springsteen makes an album, even if it's not meant to be like a unpacking of like his point in time, it always is. Like it always feels like, you know, Bruce Springsteen, like this is not Bruce in 1987. And when you listen to Wrecking Ball, like that's what Bruce is like in 2012. Like it's like so authentic.
Straight back in my head. God's light came shining on through. I woke
He can't help but let the
up
authenticity shine through.
breathing, born anew. It wasn't a cold river bottom I felt rushing over me. It wasn't the bitterness of a dream that didn't come true. It wasn't the wind in the gray fields I felt rushing through my arms. No, no, baby. Baby, it was you. So hold me close, honey, say you're forever mine. Tell me you'll be mine, lonely Valentine.
I say it's just another amazing track. Yeah, this album is one of my favorites from Bruce Springsteen. Maybe top 3. I'm thinking about it. Like, it would be Darkness on the Edge of Town, Born in the USA, Tunnel of Love. Might be my top 3 now. Which is crazy, because, like, I love Nebraska. I love Born to Run. River is even a great album. Like, crazy good. I can 100% see why this is the fan favorite and why it's the one that was requested the most. Also, I don't know if it's because you guys, it's your favorite, or if it's for some reason you guys like could see how I reacted to the albums and were like, I think he will love Tunnel of Love the most, because I feel like the one that is like the distilled down to every single track, feeling like the one that like feels the most me or something like that is this one. Like, it feels like that touches on everything like I have personally experienced, which is odd. And I don't know if that, like, I don't know if the requests come from the fact that like you've seen that, like somehow gauged that out or something, but yeah, I appreciate it, and I can now absolutely see why this is the most requested one. Which brings me to the sad news. I don't have any more Bruce Springsteen albums requested. I've absolutely loved this journey. If it picks up and people request more, I would adore that. But I haven't heard like The Wild Innocent. I haven't heard Asbury Park, but at this point in time, this is recorded the 25th of May. This is scheduled to release on, is it the 3rd or 7th or something like that? Like, so, one of the earlier days in June. So one of the quicker turnarounds for my YouTube schedule, because usually it's months in advance you get early access on my Patreon. But with this one, it might be the last one. So yeah, thank you guys for the journey. Bruce Springsteen has easily been. Has it been my favorite? It might have been my favorite to go. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Absolutely love you guys. Thank you for everything you've done for me, and I appreciate you all. Peace.